Hey everybody, Dan Shinder here on Drum Talk TV, coming to you live from Globe, Arizona, and I am so happy that finally, after knowing this extremely talented composer, musician, and producer, and becoming friends with Jonathan Scales, I have him on the show. And this is going to be special. It's going to be different than any other interview we've had because his music is so different. Jonathan, how are you, and where are you at? You're in North Carolina? Beautiful part of the country. That's awesome. And beautiful part of the world. Yeah, we have. My wife and I actually went and we filmed a project in Charleston and kind of took some extra time and scooted around. So it's beautiful there, a lot of history. And folks, we want to know where you're watching from. So I'm actually going to bring up my monitor over here to my left. And I'm going to be monitoring comments, give some shout outs, and see where you're watching from. One of the fun parts of doing my live vlog a few times a week and doing the live interviews is seeing where people are watching from. And I'm a pretty well-traveled person, and I love geography, and I love seeing the name of a country or something that I've never heard of. It's great. It's fun. So let's see. There we are. Let's bring that up. So let's dive right into it. First, I want to give the folks kind of a little preview and play some of your music. Jonathan has extremely progressive, yet earthy music, if I could put it that way. When I say progressive, it's not like you can't get your head around it because it's like Gentle Giant and Pink Floyd had a baby or something like that. It's not like that at all. It's very unique because it's basically progressive jazz fusion with the main instrument being Jonathan playing on steel drums, and then Maison Guirdy on drum set, and I just love Mason's playing. What a gem that is to have in your band. And then we have on bass, senior moment, of course, right now, Elon JD, that's right, and an awesome bass player too. So before you start to tell your story, I'm going to pull up a clip so everyone can get a little taste of this, and we'll see where people are watching from. So check this out, folks. You're going to love it. I hope. I do. Here we go.
Jonathan doesn't have
All right, we're definitely going to bring you more of that. I just love that. Jonathan, I just played a little excerpt of the beautiful video you folks did from the Lexington Glassworks. And I remember the first time you showed that to me, all I could think of was, wow, one really low D on the bass by Elon, and some of that stuff's just going to fall over. It just looks, everything looks so fragile and precarious. Yeah, it's awesome. And I just want to interject. Gilbert held up a note on my other monitor saying that we couldn't hear your audio. Gilbert, can you hear Jonathan now? So he's checking. I think the audio is just cut. No? Huh, I wonder why. Do you want to try unplugging your earbuds? That might be it. Okay, thanks. That happened to me the other day. Yeah, on my end, my... Oh, okay. How about now? Can you hear Jonathan now? He's waiting for the, I forgot there's a delay. But in the meantime, we'll start and I'll watch up I'll watch for him to hold up a note that says, no audio on Jonathan or something. Why the steel drums? What attracted you to steel drums? Did you have an influence? Is it a family thing, a cultural thing? Is it something in music school that attracted you? What is it? Okay, and you know what? I'm sorry. They're saying there's still no audio on your end, but I can hear them. So how is that possible? Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but I want to make sure people can hear your story. Let me see something here. There's a delay. But in the meantime, we'll start now. So folks, hang in there. We just want to make sure you can hear Jonathan. No audio on Jonathan or something. Why the steel drums? What attracts? So I'm watching the delay now. Did you have an influence? Is it a family thing, a cultural thing? Is it something in music school that attracted you? What is it? Oh, wow, there is no audio. That's so weird. All right, let me try to mess with something on our end. Okay, go to this. Let's see. Bear with me here. We're going to get this figured out. If you could give me a check, 1, 2, or something like that. Okay, so that didn't fix that. I'll do one more thing here. Sorry about this, folks. The wonderful world of technology. You can't live with it. You can't live without it. Can't shoot it. My dad used to say something like that. Give us another sound check.
Check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Let's see if we can hear that on the... Let us know, Gilbert, if you heard that. And in the meantime, I know what I'll do. Okay. Go ahead and start again. Yes, you heard that. So why the steel drums? It's like not exactly a pop music instrument or even a normal progressive instrument. What attracted you?
It's kind of a random story. I went to this little college called Appalachian State in Boone, North Carolina, and I was a saxophone player when I got there. And I started off on saxophone, actually.
Wow. And
when I was in high school, I got into marching percussion and things like that. So, I had like pretty decent hands, I guess. So when I got to college, there was a steel band that was there, and honestly, I had no interest in it whatsoever. But my friends twisted my arm into trying out for the steel band, and I loved it.
Really?
That's basically what happened. Like I didn't even want to try it. I just got to school. I just got to college. I wasn't really interested in picking up a new instrument the first week of school. But, my friends took me to the pan yard where all the drums were set up, and, instantly I wanted to quit saxophone.
Wow, really? And did you indeed actually leave the saxophone behind? Have you not really kept up on it?
Well, I've left the saxophone behind now, but I had to play it through college. So I took lessons every week, and I did a recital.
Got it. And I'm guessing that the experience with the saxophone is probably a big part of how easy it might have been to take to the instrument melodically, right?
I guess so. I guess you can say that just because maybe I may have had more experience just reading melodies and things like that as a saxophone player, as opposed to like someone who just plays, percussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then again, the percussion knowledge helped too, because I did marching band in high school, so develop a little bit of technique and things like that. So it kind of was those things prepared me for playing pan. For sure.
Right. Yeah, you had sticking techniques and everything. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful instrument, and you've used it in a way that I personally have never seen. Who are some of your musical influence that have transposed into what you do now. And then we'll play another clip because people are always coming and going on these live things. I want to make sure people see what you've been able to do with the instrument, let alone as with a trio.
Gotcha. You know, my influences are kind of all over the place, but just to kind of nail it down, I would say that musically, my biggest influence is Bela Fleck, the banjo player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just the way that he kind of transcends what people expect of the instrument. When I saw what he was doing, it made me feel not like an alien, essentially. Because when I heard his music, I was like, hey, I feel like I'm kind of doing this with my instrument. So it kind of gave me some confidence to continue.
That's great. It helped push those boundaries out and not make it feel like you have to be in this box with steel pan.
Well, it's not that it helped me push the boundaries out. I was already pushing the boundaries because...
But I mean, made you realize that that's acceptable.
It made me realize that it was acceptable and that it was okay and that I could probably make a living and a career.
Yeah.
But, you know, for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason from the beginning, I was always kind of like doing some weird things with my compositions and stuff. So Bela Fleck just made me feel like it was okay.
That is so cool. Let's give people another taste. So for those of you joining us, Jonathan Scales plays steel pan is basically, I guess it's fair to say, the lead instrument in his trio, Jonathan Scales Fourchestra, with Elon JD on bass and Maison Guirdy, a drummer. I'm very fond of his playing, and I think he's a great guy too. What a great band. So check this out, folks. Here's a different clip, a live clip. Awesome clip. So that's the live clip that you sent me. And what's great about it is that first we saw more of a produced video at Lexington Glassworks, and then we get to see you play live, and it's clear to see that the musicianship it transfers so naturally. And man, I know you guys have toured around and everything. I wish you would make it out here to the Southwest United States because I'd love to see you guys play in person. I'm really just so imagined, if you will, by the music. It's captivating and it creates theater of the mind, at least for me. And to see such an odd instrumentation and to pull it off as if like, yeah, doesn't everyone do this? It's great. You must be. I hope that you're proud of what you're doing because the music itself is an accomplishment. Forget playing and performing and recording all that. Just the compositions and the musicianship and the quality of the music, I think, and I sincerely mean this, is really an accomplishment. Anything that's different than successful is.
I appreciate that very much. You asked if I recognize that. It's hard to say really because when you're inside of it, it's a whole different perspective. So, whenever I hear feedback from supporters and fans, it really means a lot because, I'm just kind of doing whatever I do.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get wrapped up into like, just the business part of it. And it's easy to get wrapped into like where you want to be and where you think you should be at a certain time. And, and also it's for all the success people see on the screen or on their, on Instagram and Facebook and seeing us at shows, for each successful thing, there's like 100 slam doors also.
Yes, and truckloads of blood, sweat, and tears and heartbreaks and heavy lifting and, just being in a band alone. I mean, in my heyday, I was touring the country, I was playing up and down the Sunset Strip and loving the music I was playing, but sometimes, being in a band, being married to 3 or 4 other guys, and they're relationship drama, and just there's so much to it. And you all who are in bands, you know this. Even doing session work, it's so important that the personalities and the chemistry clicks, because when it does, it makes the job of being a musician so much easier when all that other stuff is just shed. You know, when I hear stories of the Who traveling in separate airplanes back in the day because they hated each other, it's like, I can't even imagine wanting it that bad to be in a band with people I just couldn't stand, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So, please explain the name Fourchestra.
So Fourchestra is basically like two words put together. It's like four in orchestra. But the tricky part is there's three of us. So
yeah.
To make a long story short, at the very beginning of the band, there were four people. There was a guitar player also.
Oh.
And I didn't want to have a normal band name. I didn't want to be called Jonathan Scales Quartet, Jonathan Scales Band, Jonathan Scales Ensemble, Jonathan Scales, group, insert generic name here.
Right.
Because I felt like it wasn't going to really speak for the music to have like a generic kind of name.
Yeah, that everyone else has, and your music isn't everyone else.
So I remember one day I was at the local jazz jam in Asheville, and I was sitting in the audience listening to the music, and then something hit me, Fourchestra. It hit me out of nowhere, and I Do What You Do, especially, and I guess that was like 2007, and I Googled it, as you do, and around that time, and still do. Yeah. So I Googled it, and nothing really came up, and I said, all right, Jonathan Scales Fourchestra.
That's awesome. And I've been pronouncing it, I don't know why, always with the accent on the wrong syllable. I've been saying Fourchestra rather than Fourchestra.
It's not wrong. Because people from different, like a lot of times people from Trinidad, they also say Fourchestra.
Okay.
So people have said it different ways, and is this not Fourchestra or weird things like that, but cool. And also, it's also kind of like a funny joke with us because everyone thinks they're clever when they say, "How come you guys aren't called Threekestra?"
It's a valid question.
Like something about the word Threekestra is just I don't.
It doesn't flow.
It doesn't flow, and it's just. Yeah. So I've noticed that like people that are our biggest supporters, they know it's called the Fourchestra, and they just don't question it. They just say, "Hey." This is what it is.
It's three gentlemen, and the fourth member is the music that comes out of you could say.
I've heard all kinds of things. Some people say the fourth member is the audience. Some people say the fourth member is, because I have two steel pans. Some people say that the fourth member is like some thing that gets created when we play. Yeah. I mean, to me, it's just like, it's a name, It's just our brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I want to peek real quick and just see who is on board. And folks, if you have questions for Jonathan about his music, about the instrument, I'm looking at the wrong camera here, about his music or the instrument, please feel free to ask. And let me see here. I just got to get something off the screen. There we go. Okay, so let's see where people are watching from. Chicago. Jody Miller is asking, when is the next tour, and possibly Chicago, Jonathan?
Hey, Jody. Right now I'm in kind of like a regrouping phase. Like we put out this record, and then we hit the road really hard this year, and a lot of crazy things have happened. So definitely next year. Obviously, there's nothing else happening for the rest of the year except we're playing a New Year's Eve show in Asheville. But other than that, we're just at home with our families, just kind of regrouping after the crazy year of being all over the place.
Cool.
Hopefully we'll make Chicago next year, because it's been a long time. It's been too long.
Have you ever come to the Southwest?
Yeah, like New Mexico.
Okay, we're right next to New Mexico. I started Drum Talk TV in Las Vegas, and we moved to Arizona 2 years ago. 2 years ago this month, actually. We've been here.
In there, and also I was in Vegas in April at the
Yeah, I remember seeing that you were there and me thinking, you just moved from there. What kind of tour planning is this? Ingo Marte is watching, a very, very respected drum tech, and we've got people watching from the Netherlands, Nepal, from Tassie. I don't know if that's short for Tallahassee. From Australia. Very cool.
Sweet.
Yeah. Well, tell us all about your writing process. Do you write everything and it's for the other parts as well, or do you write a framework and play it and then you all jam to it and decide? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Okay, so, most places you study will tell you that you start with the melody or the harmony or the rhythm or things like that.
Right.
But I start with the concept first,
Okay.
which I think that's what makes, the end product kind of different for me
Mm-hmm.
from other things. Is I start with the concept, and when I'm writing, before I even write any notes, I kind of script it out almost like a movie script, actually.
Oh, you almost storyboard it in a way.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
So, for example, I'll give you a little example of how I write. I'm just going to make something up right now.
Okay.
Okay? So I'll say, all right, I need to write a piece of music now. Okay, so it's going to start with just the drums, right? But the kick drum is going to do some specific pattern
Okay.
that in 15 measures, the bass is going to pick up, and it's going to be a 15-measure phrase for some weird reason. And the bass is going to pick that up. They're going to continue. I'm going to play this melody over it. Then I'm going to use this little part of the melody and expand upon it to make the B section, and it'll be so masked that no one will know that I took these 5 notes from the melody to create this entire other part. And then, then this person will take a solo over this section, and then it'll go into this crazy unison line where we play together. And then I'll write this other section of hits where the drums will have a solo, and then from there it'll sneak back into, that original theme, blah blah. So I script it all out like that.
I love that. With that in mind, let's show everybody, and especially the newcomers, some more of the clip that you did, the video, the brilliant video that you did at Lexington Glassworks. And before I show that, could you please tell a little bit about that specific composition as well?
The one we did at Lexington Glassworks, I sent you. I think that was one called "We Came Through the Storm."
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, I tend to start with the concept musically, but also sometimes I start with concept just like, emotionally too. So like that tune just comes from the concept of just making it through crazy things in life.
Right.
So it's called "We Came Through the Storm," and I wrote it in the same kind of way where I just kind of scripted it out in my head of like a play-by-play of what's going to happen, and then from there I figure out what the notes will be.
Awesome. Let's check some more of that out, folks. Here we go. Let's start that over for those who didn't see enough. I didn't realize it was going to end so quickly. Awesome. I want to, if I may, I'd like to comment on Mason's drum set playing. We've posted videos of him on the Drum Talk TV page playing faster than lightning. Like one of the fastest drum set players where something's being played that you can actually make sense of, where something's really happening and not just like someone just threw a drum set down the stairs,
Yeah.
And what I love about his playing, and a lot of people criticize videos like that because they always ask, where's the groove? Dude, can effing groove, and I love that. Not only can he groove, but he's great at leaving space, and whether that's directed by you or not isn't even the point. It's the fact that he can do it. Whereas there are a lot of blast beat players and really fast drummers that can only do that. And that's okay for that. But I love that Mason truly is a very versatile player, and probably anything you could think of, he can not only do, but embellish on as well, and as well as hold back, right?
Sure, yeah, of course.
How did he come about to be, or go ahead and then please tell us how he became to be part of the band.
Go ahead, ask a question. You said, how did he get into the band?
Yeah, how did he come to, because I know he wasn't your first drummer.
Right, he's probably like so many people have played in the Fourchestra at this point, it's been crazy.
Really? And I'm only familiar with the previous drummer as well.
Which was who?
Yes, who was great.
Yeah, so in between Chaz and Mason, there was about a 1 year and 7 month period where I had a rotating cast.
Oh, wow.
And there were like 8 drummers and 7 bass players.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but how did Mason get in the band? So I was doing a tour with the Fourchestra with another version of the Fourchestra, which included Robert Sput C. Wright, who plays with Ghost Note and Snarky Puppy.
Right.
Mono Neon, and Weedy Brahma.
Yep.
And we were on tour in Philadelphia, and Sput told me, hey, there's a guy coming out at the show tonight, you should really meet this guy. So I guess Sput, or somehow he got invited to the show, and I met him at the show, and
Mason, right?
Yeah, I met Mason. Yeah. I met Mason at the show. And at the time, I wasn't thinking anything of it because, like I said, at the time I was working with like 7 different drummers that were kind of rotating in and out. And a funny story I always tell during my shows is after the show, I was hanging out in the back where the dumpsters are and everything, kind of like the grimy, non-fancy part of the venue.
Right, the load-in area and all that.
Yeah. And Mason comes up to me with drumsticks in his hands, and like I just met him like for a few seconds, like earlier in the day, and he comes up with drumsticks and is like, "Let's go, man, let's go, I'm ready, let's go." And I'm like, I'm exhausted from touring. I'm just like, where are we going? Sarcastic, And he said, "Everywhere."
Oh, that's so amazing.
And then, so after that, there was a jam session after the show, but I actually didn't make it to the jam session because I was too busy doing the business stuff. Right. But Sput went, and Mono Neon and Weedy, and for the rest of the tour, those guys kept talking about Mason and how good he was. So I started looking him up, and I was looking to nail down my lineup because, like I said, for like a year and a half, it was a rotating cast. So I was looking to nail down a lineup so I can get into my more intricate compositions. The timing of it just worked out.
That's awesome. That's great. And the chemistry is good between the 3 of you, obviously.
Yeah, we have our balances because Mason is like this. He's like full of energy. The way he plays the drum set, that's how he is in real life.
That's him, yeah.
Yeah, and then on Elon, it's the same way. The way he plays the bass is the way he is in real life. Is very introspective, very just like at the right place at the right time, like knows when to just be support, knows when to like tell you something that's really important. Yeah. Elon is like that. And I'm also kind of like my music too. Like just you never know what's gonna happen. I'm kind of strange.
Yeah.
So we're all a little bit like our playing and our musicality kind of comes out in our personalities or vice versa. Right.
That's awesome. What kind of music do you like to listen to when you're not being creative and it's not part of the research or writing, composing process? What kind of music do you have on in your car or just through your earbuds or blasting through the house?
So my disclaimer is I'm a big fan of John Cage.
Oh,
and
cool.
Not that I listen to John Cage necessarily, but I'm a fan of him in the fact that he kind of saw sound as just sound. So because of that, there's all kinds of things I listen to that people would never really expect. And to me, like the cool thing about sound is whether you're listening to the New York Philharmonic or whether you're listening to cars passing on the street, is just sound. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only importance attached to it is like this psychological level of how we feel about the sound that we're hearing.
Right, whether or not it resonates and things like
whether
that.
or not it resonates with us for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So that being said, like if you like look down my playlist of things I listen to, it goes everywhere from Bach to Eminem to Bjork to
Wow.
Thundercat to, you know, there might be some random country song that I like, and then it'll go to like Cannonball Adderley and Miles Davis, and then it'll go to like, I don't know, some Dr. Dre. So
That's so
so,
cool.
like, so to me, everything I listen to, it resonates with me for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not you know, people think I should be listening to that as a instrumental composer. Like it, so my listening is kind of like all over the place.
I like that because there are no rules and there's no mistakes in music either. There's only new discoveries. Whether or not you decide to use them is up to the musician or the composer, but I believe there are no mistakes in music. Other than signing a bad deal, maybe. And on that note, I would like to ask you to please tell our viewers whatever advice you have on how do you make it. And when I say make it, I mean how do you play music for a living at any level? What advice do you have? And the reason why this question to you is so, I think, is so valuable is because you're not playing pop music, is because you're not playing music that not everyone can listen to, let alone want to dance to. And the fact that you're having success and you're getting gigs, it reminds me of when I was a kid, when I was 15 through mid-20s, this is late 70s through, you know, into the 80s, my thing was, as much as I loved Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, and that kind of stuff, I loved old Genesis, old Yes, Gentle Giant, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, stuff that you can't dance to, stuff that hardly got played on the radio, but it just created this world in my head, and I kind of missed the boat in the 80s because I was in this snobby progressive rock band, and big hair metal came out then, and Skinny Tie New Wave came out then, and it didn't even occur to us to conform or anything. And a lot of these bands like Genesis and Yes did conform in a way and kind of went down that road, and we kind of missed the boat and got left behind. We played at all the same places that Motley Crue, even Kiss, you know, all these hair metal bands were playing at, and some of the new wave bands and stuff, and we just didn't get it, and we sort of got filtered out. So that's why you, with your music today, is the equivalent, I think, of what we were doing then, although there's more latitude for what's acceptable now. You know, back then there wasn't social media. You didn't get exposed to pretty much anything other than what the radio played unless you explored yourself. And people don't really have effing time to do that these days. So with your beautiful instrumental, such unique, you know, jazz fusion and hints of everything else that you just mentioned in it, what advice do you have for people wanting to make it with whatever kind of music they play?
Well, I think that it's 99.9% psychological.
Okay.
And the biggest part about it to me is, you know, if we all zoom out from our little worlds that we're in, the fact that you get to like hit a drum or like strum a guitar and someone gives you money for it is insane.
It is. It's amazing.
There's a lot of crazy things happening in the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, first and foremost, you have to realize that, like, okay, yes, music is special, music is important, but at the end of the day, like, this is art.
Yeah.
So, like, people don't need to spend money on it.
Right.
So, like, don't come into it thinking that people owe you anything. You know,
Right.
I see all these memes saying like, you know, this person wanted to only pay me $50 at this gig, and I spent like countless hours preparing and all this stuff, and it's like you have to just drop that whole concept, and you have to just think, I'm lucky to be doing this,
Yeah.
and that's going to be the start of just trying to push yourself forward. And the second part of that is you have to realize that it's like a survival type thing, because I've heard this analogy that's like, you know, when you want to be successful as bad as you need to breathe, that's when you'll be successful. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, some people might have a day job and then still be trying to do music at the same time, which is fine, but, you know, they're not working as hard as they possibly can on the thing that they're wanting to do.
Right.
You know, so the thing to me is, like, you have to sometimes you have to sacrifice everything to get there. And you have to ask yourself, you know, do you want to do that or do you not want to do that?
Yeah, how bad do you want it? How much are you willing to immerse yourself completely in it? Because that's what it takes.
Yeah, it's definitely is like a how bad do you really want it kind of thing. Because, like, you know, it takes everything.
That's awesome. Thanks for that advice. I want to cruise through the comments real quick. Tassie is Tasmania. Awesome. Hey, I've directed a documentary of the Sydney to Hobart. Does that count, Satya? Let's see who else is here. So Sam Birch is asking, will the next tour be with the same members?
Yes. So basically, like I mentioned before, there was a 1.5-year period where there was rotating cast, 8 drummers, 10 bass players, I think, actually.
Jeez. How do you have the patience for that, Jonathan? Or is it just part of your process?
No, it was a necessary thing for the time period. You know?
Okay.
I needed to keep, after the Cody and Chaz lineup discontinued, I wanted just to keep working perpetually and not worry about who was with me. You know what I mean? Like, I needed to kind of like rebrand it to where, you know, not to sound weird or anything, but I kind of needed to rebrand it to where, like, I was the face of my own band.
I totally get it. Yeah. It's like me and marriage. I've been divorced 3 times. I'm with my 4th wife. I had to go through all that to find the perfect situation, okay?
I hear you. I'm not too far behind you.
We'll
talk about that later.
Yeah, but are you happy?
Yes.
Great, me too. Could not be happier. But I'm sorry, continue.
What was I saying?
Well, you were answering the question of will it be with the same members, and then you were kind of explaining that. Yeah.
So, I wanted to play more of my complicated music, and so after the crazy lineup thing happened, where I was bringing guys in and out just to like keep the Fourchestra name afloat, I wanted to get more into my intricate things I was used to doing. And in order to do that, I needed to have a solid lineup. So Maison Guirdy and Elon JD are the dudes right now.
Right. That's awesome, and they sound great. And I've been pronouncing Mason's last name incorrectly too, so thank you for that.
No problem.
Let's see who. Thanks.
People call him all kinds of things.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what Ashish means by this question, but he's asking, what is your favorite jam? So let's take that as, what do you have one thing that you could never get tired of listening to, other than Drum Talk TV interviews, of course, musically? Do you have anything that you could listen to over and over and over and never get tired of it?
I have the perfect answer for that.
Okay.
There's 2 things that are okay, you know the song that never ends?
Yeah.
Okay, to me, I'm so amazed by that song and the way that the cadence flows back into itself.
Yeah.
Like, I can listen to the song Never Ends Forever and never be upset about it.
That's awesome. It's mesmerizing.
It's mesmerizing, and just like the way that it's composed is just genius. And like, you know, as a composer and someone who's studied music or studied composition, I kind of break apart and analyze songs in that way.
Yeah.
Also, songs like or the little nursery rhymes, like, you know, the woman who swallowed a spider.
Yeah.
And then she swallows a fly that catches, or she swallows a fly, and then she swallows the spider
that catches the fly. Yeah.
And she swallows the bird to catch the spider to catch the fly. Like, those things where like the songs keep adding on.
Yeah.
I know that's a super random answer, but yeah.
No, it fits though.
Brand is very fascinating.
That's cool. So how does your brain work as far as something you just mentioned? being that you study composition, so you have a way of listening to music and you break it down. Are you able to listen to something first just for the sake of listening to it and going for that ride and then breaking it down on future listens? Or from the beginning, does your mind start breaking it down and identify the structures?
Okay, so when I was in college studying composition, I took 8 semesters of music theory. I was always analyzing music. So after college, actually, I don't analyze music unless I have to.
Okay.
So when I first listen to music, I'm just enjoying it, and I won't analyze it unless I have to, because I did it for a long time. And then like when I compose, I use the skill of analyzation as a way to, try different things, or to do something that people aren't expecting that'll keep them to keep the listeners on their toes.
Yeah.
So that's when I'm doing my analyzing and things like that. But when I'm listening to music, I'm not thinking about what's happening. I'm just enjoying the music.
Good. That's cool.
Bela Fleck is one of my favorite, artists, and he writes really complicated stuff. When I listen to Bela, I'm not even thinking time signatures. I'm not thinking anything. I like it.
Yeah, that's cool. Who is as contemporary on your list? Who's a very contemporary artist that has really caught your attention? Whether it's an instrumentalist or a percussionist or a band or whatever, who's the most contemporary act or artist out there that you respect because of what they're doing?
Thundercat.
Really? That's great.
I'm a big Thundercat fan. I don't know. He's just it's the perfect combination of just cutting edge, jazz fusion almost, with pop, quirky lyrics, and it's not supposed to work. It's one of those things that's not supposed to work, and then
right.
He's a virtuoso on the bass.
Yeah.
And also he's super popular, selling out huge concerts around the world. I'm very fascinated with Thundercat.
That's
I would
cool.
like to him one day, and I would secretly like to be friends with Thundercat and hang out.
That's cool. Yeah, I think a lot of us. Well, I don't know if it's a lot of us or some of us. I'm looking for other questions. There's sometimes that musician or even comedian or whatever who you see, and there's some sort of connection, and you've never met. So you don't know if it's personal, but there's that sort of feeling I'd love to meet this person and hang out with them and soak some of whatever the heck is making them work. At least that happens to me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see real quick if there's. Let me type something in real quick, and then we're going to look for some questions. So let's just see if there's any other questions. If not, I have 2 last questions. Bear with me here. One of them is, if there's no other questions by the fans here, I just want to make sure. I don't think so. Gilbert, you correct me if I'm missing any questions while I ask Jonathan. Oh, there are 2? Okay, let me scroll farther down. Thanks. Come on, computer. Here we go. Okay. So, there's always trolls on the internet. You know that, right? And when you have a big platform like Trump Talk TV with over 1 million followers, you're bound to have trolls latch onto an interview that's live, just like barnacles on a hull, right? You cool with that? Okay, so I found one. His name's Maison Guirdy, and he's asking chicken and fries, burger and salad, or candy.
Mason is crazy.
Mason, thanks for joining us.
I'm going to go with the chicken and fries.
Cool. And he's asking, that's in regards to his previous question, what would you rather eat for breakfast? Mason, got to get you on here. I love your drumming, bro. Awesome drumming. And Trey Laval is asking, my question to Jonathan is, if there was another instrument besides the steel drums to choose from, what would that instrument be? And maybe they missed that you did play saxophone for a long time. So other than saxophone or steel pan, what might that instrument be?
I always wish I could play the bass.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
I wish I could play the bass. And
Well,
also, I wish I could play drum set too.
Yeah. Have you played drum set before?
I mean, no.
No. Wow, that just blows my mind.
I can like hold a beat, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like I can like teach myself something and be able to do it, but I'm not a drum set player at all.
I never would have thought that. For some reason, I thought that that was part of your history. I don't know why I assumed that, but the marching drums, drumline, drum corps style is.
Yeah, I did drumline stuff, and also I did like orchestral percussion.
Yeah, me too. I loved that. I didn't do drumline. I kind of, well, you're not supposed to have regrets, and then there's the butterfly effect, but I took drumline in 10th grade, which was the first year of high school back in the covered wagon days, and I took it for 2 months, and I came home, and I was already playing in a band on the weekends, rehearsing at night, and I wanted to do good at school. I came home and told my parents, I said, I can't hack this. I don't like it. It's too strict, it's too regimented, and the director we had, I never saw him smile. And he had a real thick Eastern European accent. Nothing against that. My heritage is Eastern European. He was from Austria. And it just wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. And looking back, when I see people like you, people like Emmanuel Caplet, who didn't touch a drum set until she was in college. She was in drum and bugle corps from the time she was 8. And all these other, like so many musicians, drummers that started out in drum corps. I thought, man, maybe I really missed out. But you're not supposed to have regrets. But I do feel like I missed the experience in that culture and developing chops in that way. It just, I wasn't a fit for it, though.
I actually marched drum corps.
Yeah?
Yeah, I marched Carolina Crown.
Wow, that's so cool.
But the crazy part is, I auditioned for the drum line, and I didn't make it. And because I had saxophone experience, and they needed some spots filled in the horn line, I went to the caption head of the horn line and said, hey, do you have any spots? And he said, yes, tuba.
Wow. Whoa, really?
Yeah, so I marched contra, which is like the tuba that you put on across your shoulder.
Yeah.
And I marched that for Carolina Crown for 2 years.
Wow. How cool.
It's funny, I auditioned for the drum line, but at the time, it was kind of like controlled by the University of North Texas. So that's a long story, but so basically you go to the Carolina Crown camps, and every month they would cut people, starting with like hundreds of people, and they would cut them down. So I survived all the way to the last camp, but at the last camp, all these guys you've never seen in your life from North Texas come out of nowhere and just like clean the floors with everyone, and they get all the spots. So, so that being said, I think that I was actually good enough to be on the drum line.
Yeah.
Back in those days, not anymore, but back in those days. But it didn't work out for me, and I marched in the horn line, but it was a good experience. Just it's definitely not a regimen, but you learn a lot, and you learn how to work with people, and you
Awesome.
learn work ethic and all that.
That's important. That's great. Before I ask you the last 2 questions, I want to play the clip one more time, because I know that people are coming and going. I want them to understand why you're on the show. Besides the fact that we're friends, you're a great guy, but your music is amazing. So, folks, check this out, and we'll be right back. Let's rewind it. There we go. let's let it go right into the next song so people can see you perform live. Just awesome work, it really is. So my last two questions, Jonathan, is this. This is the Jonathan Scales fun fact question, okay?
All right.
When you're not doing music, you don't have your music brain going, what do you like to do?
All right. Here's what I'll say. I would say there's been different phases of my life. For the biggest part of it, my favorite thing to do was study languages.
Ooh, nice.
So you will find random videos on the internet of me speaking German and Chinese and Japanese and Spanish and random things, and that was a really, really big part of my life. In the past couple years, I have not been studying as much, which I would like to get back to. So these days, I would just say anything that's where I can just shut off my brain. So like watch a movie or just like sit down somewhere. Like that's where it is right now. Where it is right now is just like if I'm not working on music or not working on business stuff, just doing nothing is awesome because that's how much time I spend doing everything else.
Yeah, I can relate. With Drunk Talk TV and social media on steroids, I told my wife just yesterday or the day before, I said, I just did some math and I work like 95 to 124 hours a week. No wonder I'm so messed up. And I'm taking 3 weeks off in December, which I've never done in my life. But that's really cool to hear. Thanks for sharing that. And the last question is, after the holidays and you start to group, what is next for Fourchestra?
Well, one thing that's really interesting is I've been commissioned to write a concerto for Fourchestra with a steel band.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're premiering that at San Jacinto College, which is right outside of Houston in Texas.
Awesome.
And, that's one of the first things that's going to happen, but that's not until maybe that's going to be after a while. Mm-hmm. But it's like coming in the first quarter of next year. But that's kind of like what my brain is having to wrap itself around right now is that concerto. But other than that, it's just forging ahead, like more touring, going to more places. I'm pretty sure we're going to be in Italy next summer.
Nice.
Also, I haven't announced it officially yet. I maybe wasn't supposed to say anything, but that's happening.
Great.
Just continuing to push forward and to really do the same thing that I've been doing for 11 years. You just have to be consistent and not stop. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And is or will your music be available as downloads or CDs or somewhere where people can find your music and enjoy it in the car or when they're running or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
Great.
So,
what's that web address? I'll type it into the comments.
Yeah, the easiest way to get to it, actually, is just johnscales.com. If you go to johnscales.com.
Jon, right? It's
Yep.
Jon?
Yeah, if you go to johnscales.com and you're a person who uses the internet in 2018, you'll be able to find it.
Awesome.
Yeah, but it's on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. It's everywhere. So.
Great. Awesome. Yep. Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on. And please don't be shy about pimping your career. Keep us up to date with everything you're doing. You're welcome to come on, even if it's for Dan. I got a quick announcement. Can we get 15 minutes? We'll schedule 15 minutes. Or if you want to go on an hour about something new that's happening or something you learned or a musical experience or whatever, you're always welcome. This is not a one-time opportunity. And I also want to thank everybody for watching and I hope you got as much out of it as I did, because I love your story, I love your music, and I love the whole forging forward mindset. You said that basically the psychology of someone's brain is basically what's going to make or break their musical career, and I love how ambitious you are and that you're always moving forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And before we go, a quick shout out to Luis Delgado, who's my brother-in-law. He made a comment, and I saw it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Do we want to mention the comment?
Yes, he asked me when I was coming to Greenville, South Carolina.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
That'll be.
I love that he did that rather than just calling you on the phone. Yo, bro-in-law, when are you coming to, right? That's when you know you've made it, when someone has to ask you something on Drum Talk TV rather than...
That's funny.
Very cool. Hey, stay on the line for a moment after we disconnect with the viewers. And viewers, thank you so much. Come visit Drum Talk TV if you're coming to the NAMM show, booth 6732. If you're not coming to the NAMM show, tune into the Drum Talk TV Facebook page. We're going to be streaming videos, interviews all day, every day, all 4 days of the show with not just me. You're not just stuck with me. I got 4 other correspondents, and we're going to be doing stuff in Spanish as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And this was brought to you by my social media marketing for musicians.com series. Sign up for free webinars, get my books, and stop following everyone off the cliff. Come on. All right. Thanks, everybody, so much. We'll see you soon.